in regards to PC.
There's obviously been a lot of discussions in regards to PC digital game storefronts, but perhaps the most infamous of them all right now is G2A. For those who don't know what G2A is, it is a marketplace that acts as an intermediary for people who want to buy or resell game keys. Think of it like the eBay for game keys. Anyone can go in there and sell a code for a digital game regardless of its origins. Over the years, G2A has faced a number of controversies due to its lax security measures on a system that's rife with fraudulence. It's why games industry pundits have labeled G2A as a gray marketplace, a term used to describe a distribution platform that's not authorized by a product's creator and manufacturer. It's not quite black market because the products being sold on G2A aren't illegal, but it's also not a marketplace that's approved by publishers and developers or sells games in a way that these entities approve them. And yeah, there's plenty of good cause for why video game companies admonish G2A. Practices G2A has been accused of enabling include allowing users to resell keys purchased in a region where prices are cheaper so they can then be sold in another region where prices might be higher to turn a profit. And in these types of situations, game companies get to miss out on a portion of revenue. G2A has also been accused of enabling the shady individuals who illegally obtain keys through stolen credit cards, fake key requests, and other means to obtain these keys en masse and then sell them at a cheaper price point than market value and turn a profit that way. That's the attraction of G2A for customers. You can get games at cheaper price, with a caveat being that it's hard to know where these keys come from. So you might actually be buying a stolen key from some shady dude rather than financially supporting developers. And if developers find out keys have been stolen, you might find your G2A purchase deactivated all of a sudden. Your game might not be accessible because that key has been blocked off. So consumers are left biting the dust, developers are left biting the dust. It's all around not ideal. Despite all of this going on, G2A hasn't really taken extensive measures to stop these kinds of practices, and as a result, the company continues to face scrutiny from game companies and pundits alike. Most recently, G2A found itself under the limelight after being called out by Mike Rose, company director of a small publishing label going by the name No More Robots. On June 29th, Mike tweeted the following: "In the latest episode of Fuck G2A, G2A has taken out sponsored ads on Google, which means that when you search for our games, you get G2A popping up above our own links, and we make zero money on our games if people buy through the ads. And when you try to turn their ads off," this is followed up by a clip showing that G2A ads cannot be switched off. Mike then added this: "Please, if you're going to buy a game from G2A, just pirate it instead, genuinely. Devs don't see a penny either way, so we'd much rather G2A didn't see money either." The notion that a marketplace is so detrimental that developers prefer players pirate their games instead of buying them on this marketplace certainly raised some eyebrows, and soon enough, this whole ordeal began making headlines. Before long, other developers began to express similar sentiments. Development studio Rage Squid, who worked with publisher Robots on this game called Descenders, tweeted out, quote, "Please torrent our games instead of buying on G2A." Then Rami Ismail, an indie developer, also chimed in with, quote, "If you can't afford or don't want to buy our games full price, please pirate them rather than buying them from a key reseller. These sites cost us so much potential dev time in customer service, investigating fake key requests, figuring out credit card chargebacks, and more." As this whole story continued to gain traction, G2A eventually got wind of the backlash and went on the defensive. On July 1st, for example, Mike pointed out that following his accusations, G2A had many of their sponsored streamers read out these statements defending the company and, as Mike put it, explaining why they're not evil. Then on July 4th, Mike noted that he saw G2A calling him a liar on Facebook and claiming Mike never got in contact with the company, before Mike stated that he's tempted to just dump the entire email chain he had going with G2A, as well as the shitty contract they asked them to sign as a means to disprove G2A. From there, G2A issued an official response in which they accused indie developers of wanting to get attention by making these claims against the marketplace, all while G2A propped themselves up. The company talked about how their goal is to create a marketplace where people can get games for cheaper, how it's impossible for them to check every single key being sold and ensure their legitimacy, how they now offer money-back guarantee to customers should there be something off with a purchase, and how they strive to work with developers when fraudulence is detected. They also posted screenshots showing how many Descender Steam keys were sold on G2A, showing how few copies were sold on this marketplace compared to other stores, claiming this means that No More Robot is pretty good at handling keys they don't want available on the free market, and claiming that G2A has no significant impact on No More Robot's business. They also threw some percentages around as a means to claim that only a very small portion of G2A sales were fraudulent. They also touted how their G2A Direct service allows developers to keep track of whether keys given to people falsely claiming to be influencers and media outlets ended up being resold on G2A, and how the key can be blocked by contacting G2A about such a situation. Except that involves developers having to waste time and resources they can't afford to check every code and whether it's being sold illicitly on G2A or not, when it's G2A, the platform holder, who should be taking care of this stuff on their end. It was also claimed that G2A gives developers a percentage of the revenue made through resold items, though I have yet to hear a developer say that this is in any way, shape, or form worth all of the other issues that G2A causes. G2A also flaunted how they'll pay developers 10 times the money they might lose on chargebacks if keys are legally obtained via G2A, but only if developers can prove such a thing actually happened. In other words, G2A can simply decide arbitrarily that there is no proof illicit activity happened and deny developers what seems like a good offer on a surface level. As for Mike Rose taking umbrage with seeing G2A's listing of Descenders on Google Ads, G2A claimed that they have reached out to Google to get the issue resolved. Well, it's been a few days, and when I search for Descenders on Google, it does indeed still show a G2A ad, so it doesn't look like a lot of progress has been made on that front. Moving on, following G2A's response, Mike Rose fired back with a new string of tweets. He began by clarifying that he did in fact reach out to G2A, despite the company claiming otherwise. He has the string of emails with him that he can post at any time. He then moved on to break down G2A's response bullet point by bullet point, stating the following. They say I have a pretty good handling on the keys they don't want available on the free market. Yes, I do, and that's because G2A exists. I've had to stop giving out keys so freely to potential press and influencers because G2A doesn't care about policing their site. Because of this pretty good handling, it means that we're far less inclined to get involved with things like, for example, a Humble Bundle, as we know all the keys will appear on G2A afterwards, and tank our Steam sales from that point onwards. This is the issue with G2A. They say just join G2A Direct, but this is nonsense as they then sell your game alongside all the illegitimate keys. Why on earth would any developer want their game sold officially alongside a gray market? Do they think we're idiots? I have so many more thoughts on their bullshit, but the too long didn't read is G2A do not care about the people who make games, no matter what spin they keep frothing out. Do not fall for it. Plenty of developers have tried to reason with them, but they're not to be reasoned with. And hey, when you read this, G2A, you have my phone number. I gave it to you when we were emailing back and forth. Ask your developer relations person Mateus. I'm waiting on your call. One more thing to add. G2A say barely any copies of Descenders have sold on G2A, but this isn't the fucking point. The problem is the perception of value. If someone sees our game at a low price on G2A, they'll automatically be less inclined to buy full price. As an industry, we're constantly fighting for players to perceive our games as valuable. If you see that Descenders is available for cheap somewhere dodgy, your brain will say, maybe I shouldn't buy it full price. G2A facilitates this shift every single day and don't care. Mike then proceeded by using G2A's own spreadsheet of Descender sales to further highlight the marketplace's issues. Each one of these rows represent a sale of the game, and you can see that there are a few anomalies here. Throughout February 2018, one user bought 23 Steam keys of this game. Another user bought 67 keys, and here's one more who bought a whopping 102 keys, about which Mike had this to say. So let's delve into these lovely stats G2A have provided for us. Descenders has sold 226 copies on G2A, but one single person sold 45% of those. In fact, 85% of keys were sold by 3 people. So where the heck do they get so many cheap free keys? How is that even possible? You can see that one guy selling 102 Steam keys on February 14th, 2018. At that point, the game was only available on Steam and was 10% in the launch sale. I remember seeing these keys on G2A for around $13 at the time. So how did this one person get 100 keys that he could sell for $13? Clearly, these 100 keys are a red flag. All the other 1s, 2s appearing, fine, that'll always happen. 100 keys appearing from a single person? 3 people selling 85% of keys for a game on G2A? Come on now, haha, these are clearly flaggable, yet G2A did nothing. Here's how much Descenders cost throughout its lifetime. The cheapest price at the time of the keys going up was $22.49. How were they appearing on G2A for nearly half the price? Is that genuinely not cause for concern to the people running the sales platform? Finally, Mike scrutinized one line from G2A's response that reads, "Around 1 million games are sold each month on G2A Marketplace. Statistically, only 8% of them are indie titles." Essentially, this was done as a means for G2A to downplay indie titles' importance on their marketplace, to which Mike responded as follows. Love this line too. It shows that G2A have zero understanding of how games sell. Of course, AAA games sell way more than indie titles, you morons. AAA games are triple the price of indie titles, have widespread marketing campaigns, are pushed hard by sales platforms. But obviously, indie titles only account for 8% of G2A sales, so fuck them, right? Who gives a shit about the smaller devs? They barely make us any money anyway. This whole post is a beautiful train wreck, and I'm gonna print it out and put it on my wall to remind me daily that G2A are laughably bad for our industry, and clearly have no idea why, despite people telling them over and over again. Mike then tweeted out a link to a petition he started that calls on G2A to remove indie titles from their store. In response, G2A posted this rather, rich comment. Let's say that petition goes and G2A decides to stop selling any indie game. Nature abhors a vacuum. Sellers would move to the next platform, there's like 20 of them, and then to eBay and other marketplaces. Basically, G2A is saying, if we don't do this scummy thing, somebody else will do it anyway, so what's the harm? To that, Mike aptly responded, so you're happy to be hurting game devs because if it wasn't you, it would be someone else? Is that genuinely your response, G2A? Get the shit signed, game developers. In a follow-up Twitter thread, Mike proceeded by pointing out how much shadier all of this gets, with resellers not even selling Steam keys for Descenders, but rather Steam gifts. Here's how Mike explained it. Okay, I keep seeing G2A using the, well, where did the Steam keys come from then argument. So let me blast that one wide open for you. Here's the G2A page for Descenders. 3 sellers, 2 apparently sell keys, while 1 sells Steam gifts. So where did these Steam keys come from? So I go into the feedback for these other 2 sellers, and guess what? They're lying. They don't give people Steam keys, they give buyers dodgy link, which they click to then receive the game via Steam gift. There are no Steam keys, it's all Steam gift. So what's happening then? Here's the chat. Someone sells a copy of a game using dodgy links and Steam gifts, waits until the game is in their account and they're happy. At that point, they have plenty of options regarding how to kill that key and not pay for it. In other words, there is nothing we can do about it. There is not a single Steam key on G2A for Descenders. They are all dodgy Steam gift links. We did not authorize a single one of those sales, nor are they legit secondhand code sales. Now, there's a simple solution here. G2A could shut down any seller who is pretending to sell Steam keys, but is actually selling dodgy gift links. Of course they're never going to do that, but please don't believe what they say about it being an issue that developers create. And of course, these sellers are not doing this manually. There isn't a team of people sat there sending out tens of thousands of Steam gifts to people. It's all automated, driven through bots and dodgy links. There are sellers on G2A making hundreds of thousands of dollars from doing this, and G2A does nothing. Okay, so as far as the back and forth between Mike and G2A is concerned, that's where we're at right now. But here's the cherry on top when it comes to G2A shadiness. On July 8th, 2019, which is today, various media outlets began to receive an email from G2A asking them to write an article. This email was sent out to 10 distinct outlets, among them being IndieGamePlus.com. One of the website's contributors, Thomas Faust, posted the email in question on Twitter, and as you'll soon see, it is really shady stuff. It reads, quote, "My name is Adrian and I represent a global digital marketplace called G2A.com. Our company is one of the biggest and most popular trading platforms in the world. It is a place where buyers and sellers of games and other digital and physical goods meet to make transactions. I'm contacting you because I think your website matches our interests perfectly, and we would like to find out more about publishing and advertising opportunities that you can offer. At the moment, we are trying to improve our brand awareness and public image, especially among the indie and smaller game developers. Unfortunately, the majority of the public does not understand either our business model or how we try to make sure our customers can safely purchase digital products. We want to make sure people understand we do everything we can to support gaming community and that we introduce every possible method to assure every side is satisfied. We have written an unbiased article about how selling stolen keys on gaming marketplaces is pretty much impossible, and we want to publish it on your website without being marked as sponsored or marked as associated with G2A. It is a transparent and just review of the problem of the stolen keys reselling. Below, I attach an excerpt of the article. If you want the full article, just let me know. If you're interested in publishing the article, please provide me with the pricing and details about your options for such content publication." That is right, ladies and gentlemen. G2A just offered to pay media outlets money to act as their mouthpiece, to publish this so-called unbiased, transparent, just article of theirs. Making matters worse, they asked these media outlets to intentionally exclude mention of G2A, that they pretend whatever article G2A was presenting was the outlet's opinion rather than sponsored and written by G2A. They asked media outlets to break any semblance of journalistic integrity and ethics for extra cash, because, this article is meant to be so transparent. As one Twitter user aptly reacted to this development, "We are accused of being unethical. We have written their article about how we're not unethical. Would you like to publish it unethically?" Oh, but wait, it gets better. G2A responded by playing coy with the following tweet: "These emails were sent by our employee without authorization, for which we apologize to Indie Games Plus and the 9 other media outlets he sent this proposal to. He will face strict consequences, as this is absolutely unacceptable." Yeah. It was a rogue employee, I'm sure. Suffice to say that nobody's buying into this bullshit, this desperate backpedal after a shameless attempt to exploit the media to pivot the narrative in their favor. If it wasn't clear enough just how shady and negligent G2A is as a company, yeah, it sure as hell is now. As for the contents of the article G2A wanted to put out there, the excerpt that media outlets were provided in the email was detailed by Kotaku, who summarized it as follows. Today's email also included a sample of the article publications were being asked to publish, which somewhat counterproductively says that, with some luck, you can probably sell 1 or 2, even 10 keys on G2A without triggering any other security measures, as all you need to provide to make an account is your phone number and a social media account. The problem, according to this article that only mostly reads like it was written by a G2A employee, is in collecting your money. To do that, you've got